I had time to catch up a little bit. I want to cover one more game from round 4, which was quite interesting. It was Karjakin with white against MVL. So this is from the 4th round, and the standings before the round were as follows. Carlsen on +2, and yeah, the field basically on an even score. But let's move on to the game. Karjakin had the white pieces. MVL, Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, had the black pieces. And Karjakin opened with d4. Now we've seen Karjakin open with e4 as well. And I think this is very opponent specific. It is well known that Vachier-Lagrave will almost exclusively play the Grunfeld with the black pieces if white goes d4. And that's exactly what happened in this game. He's one of the leading practitioners of the Grunfeld. We can maybe mention Peter Svidler as well. And he doesn't mind, you know, being a bit of a sitting duck. He knows his theory quite well. And here we're going for the main line of the Grunfeld, e4, knight takes e3 and b takes e3. So white gets this big center and black will try to attack it later. Bishop to c4 here, c5, starting to attack the center. White needs to defend, knight to e2. We go to e2 because if we go to g4 we're going to get pinned here, which adds further pressure to the center. And with a knight on f3 we can't push the pawn to d5 because of this bishop bearing down on the c3 pawn. Knight c6, even more pressure on the pawn, and bishop e3 defending. Now both sides castle, and here b6 was played. I'd briefly like to mention that bishop g4 is the most common move here, and it's quite a famous one. f3 is the most common, and now knight a5, a little bit of a Shishensuk. And now bishop d is the most common move, but I think the most famous move is bishop takes f7, which was played in the matches between Karpov and Kasparov in Sevilla in 1987, and therefore this variation is called the Sevilla variation. Kasparov used it nicely to win a game against Karpov with the black pieces, and then they went down this line a few more times in that match. But MVL chooses a different path. He goes b6. At first it looks like white can take a pawn, and he did take it. But after queen c7, avoiding queen trade, it's clear that black is sacrificing a pawn. However, white is not taking it. The thing about the Grunfeld is, in many positions in the Grunfeld, black sacrifices a pawn for active play. And you can find so many games with MVL where he's down one pawn, 2 pawns, but he has very active play. And he's like an expert on in these kind of dynamic positions. Now the first thing to observe here is that, okay, white can't take this pawn here, and to the untrained eye it seems like white is just up a pawn, but it is well known that black has sufficient counterplay in positions such as this. He's going to have played down the a file, he will later have played down the c file. Perhaps most importantly, the c4 square will become available to a knight, and the bishop can go to a6 or e6 or even b7, depending on circumstances. And yeah, play against these weaknesses on a2 and c3. Going back, yeah, so queen c7, and Karjakin didn't take on b6, he played knight d4. We saw knight e5 from MVL attacking the bishop. Bishop has to move unless you find a Shishensuk, which Karjakin did. Knight b5 attacking the queen, queen to b8, and now the bishop has to move. The bishop went all the way back to e2, and now b takes c5. And again, white can take a pawn and be up a pawn, but again Karjakin chose not to. If he does take the pawn, most likely I think black will play a6, and it will not be exactly like before, but very similar. Okay, the knight has to move. Perhaps it's best to put it on a3, but if you centralize it, which looks natural, knight d4, there's queen g7. We're covering this pawn, and now very quickly, okay, if the bishop pulls back, we can win this pawn, and if knight b3, we can start thinking about active play, rook d8, attacking the queen. Queen has to go somewhere, maybe, I don't know, queen c2. And now we can start thinking about this square, maybe bishop e6 coming into this square. Maybe a5, a4 is a threat. So it seems like black has sufficient counterplay here. And Karjakin didn't really fancy this. He went to rook b1. So eyeing some discoveries with the knight, although it's hard to find anything dangerous, and Karjakin, MVL just basically allows the knight to move, but no real threat here. Okay, attacking the queen, queen c7, but the knight didn't manage to attack anything, so no harm, no foul. And now f4. And again, it seems like Karjakin was very well prepared. We already had a game where he was superbly well prepared with the black pieces in the Italian game against Mamedyarov, and it looks like more of the same in this game. After queen c2, knight g4. Now he takes on g4, and at first it looks like black is absolutely okay. I mean, he has the bishop here, and if white does nothing, we will reroute this bishop perhaps back to c8 and b7, and this diagonal will become a big pain for white. Knowing that, Karjakin played f5, cutting off this bishop. Very powerful move. But there are some details that he had to have covered. After g takes f5, he plays knight c4. Very calm move. Oh, yeah, it's the #1 computer move, of course. And it looks like, okay, why not just f takes e4? We're going to be up a pawn. But the problem is, now the bishop is attacked and rook b7 is coming. And okay, we can, protect the bishop and block b7, but this would hang the rook. So we can't do that. And yeah, this would allow rook b7. f5 is too weakening. And queen e6. White is much better. So f takes e4, not an option. MVL went with e6. And now h3 makes sense, pushing the bishop back. And now we can take on f5. E takes f5 and bishop g5. White is not interested in taking this pawn yet because the bishop can come to g6 and we have too many pieces on this diagonal. White is more interested in the black squares around the king. If we can exchange these black squared bishops, black will be left with a horrible bishop and many weaknesses. True to style, MVL goes for the dynamic solution. He plays f4. Allows white to take on d8. And probably he would get, good compensation if black takes on d8. And once again, already being offered pawns twice. And now the exchange, Karjakin goes for queen to f2. Avoiding this and simply attacking the pawn. And okay, black can move the rook now. And maybe he should have. But perhaps a move like knight b6 and then coming to d5 is something that MVL didn't fancy. The knight can be protected with c4 and later we can maybe play bishop f6. Try and get the aforementioned trait of black squared bishops. And then the black squared around the black king will be very, very vulnerable. So MVL went f3 instead. Now Karjakin took the offer, he took on d8 and queen to h4. After f takes g2, rook after e1. And here bishop g6 looks like the most natural move, but Karjakin had prepared something evil here. He would play rook to b7, eyeing the rook on d8, trying to undermine it. And you can't keep control of it. Queen c8, knight b6. And once we take on d8, the other rook comes and it's game over. We'll take on f8 after black interposes the bishop. So okay, bishop f3 instead. Rook to e3, attacking the bishop, bishop back to c6, rook b to e1. If you look at the material, it's actually even, but the black pawns aren't really good. Okay, this is a good pawn per se, but black can't really do anything around this pawn. This bishop can never get to this diagonal because of the c3 pawn and this pawn. So it's hard for black to do anything, and he's really on the defensive here. Knight to e5. Again, if you trade, your king will become wide open. So bishop d5, rook g3, and white is building up the pressure. A pin here, and this could become decisive. f6, knight d3. And here already, black has a really difficult position. He can still fight. I don't think it's. I'm not sure it's decisive yet. But white is definitely for choice. But black can probably fight. But I think here MVL made the game losing mistake in a difficult position. Maybe king h8 to get out of the pin was the move to play. But he played bishop takes a2. And after c4, it's simply too much to allow this bishop to be cut off from the play. The end was actually swift from here. Queen to d6, knight to f4. This knight is coming to h5 or e6, and g7 is a problem. This is why you had to play king h8. Queen d4 jack, king h2. The king is surprisingly safe, given that there's an enemy pawn here in the middle of the pack. Bishop takes e4, too little, too late. Queen h6. A threat to the bishop on g7, f5 temporarily solves it, but after knight to h5, the pressure here is simply too much, and MVL had to concede the game. Rook f7, there's rook f8, rook e8, and mate is imminent. Rook takes g7, followed by mate. So a nice game by Karjakin, obviously well prepared, and yeah, we'll have to wait and see if anybody can challenge Magnus in this tournament. But for now, I would not put money on it. I'll see you later in some games from round 5. Until then, bye bye.